What's up, everyone? This is McCoy, and welcome back to another tier list video. This time, we're gonna do another wrestling-related tier list video, and this time, since the Elimination Chamber is gonna come just in a few hours in Saudi Arabia, I think that it would be the best time, and I think it would be the more fitting time to do an Elimination Chamber tier list video. I personally love the Elimination Chamber. It is one of my favorite stipulation matches of all time. And the basis of this tier list video is just how much fun I had enjoying watching all these chamber matches. Now, I've watched all these chamber matches once. I haven't gone back to rewatch all of them, but some of the stuff I just remember is really good, and then some of the stuff I remember is really bad. Just like it depends on the quality. So that's what I'm looking for. That's just my criteria for the elimination chambers, like the quality of the match, the unpredictability of the competitors, because one of the biggest strengths of having an elimination chamber match is that you don't know who is going to win. You don't know who is going to come away with the win, either the championship or the number one contender, or in some cases. So yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm pretty excited that this year's chamber is going to be just as stacked. So let's check them out, shall we? So let's start off with the 2002 Elimination Chamber match. The inaugural Elimination Chamber match for my favorite championship of all time, the World Heavyweight Championship. This one, I think this still stands in the test of time as one of the best chamber matches. You got workhorses like Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Booker T, and Rob Van Dam doing all their spots. It was pretty unfortunate that Triple H had his throat crushed by a botched 5-star frog splash, but he came away and finished the match like a freaking Chad. So yeah, and just the quality of the match is just very good. And of course, you got Shawn Michaels winning his only world championship in his 2002-2010 run. Interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna put this one in an excellent tier, and of course you got the aptly named tier names. So yeah, this still stands up. This is still one of the best chamber matches, and you highly go back and rewatch it. It's really good. Next up is 2003, again for the World Heavyweight Championship. Um, this one, this one is the Goldberg Chamber. Of course, this is widely regarded as the Goldberg Chamber, where Goldberg just eliminated half of the competition, and it ended in the worst way possible by a sledgehammer from Triple H. Um, what rewatching this match, like I really thought Goldberg should have won. Like, yeah, Kevin Nash got eliminated, and he was the only bad thing about this chamber match. The other three were pretty good, like Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, and Randy Orton were clearly the workhorses, and then Goldberg just ate them all up. But yeah, Triple H should not have won. I think this one is one of those cases where bad booking can lead to a pretty bad impression on the chamber as a whole. So, what do I think of this? I think this is gonna go in the average tier because it's not a bad chamber per se. Like I mentioned, there's three workhorses right there in Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, and Shawn Michaels, and they always carry to a great match, especially at this time on Monday Night Raw. But yeah, all the Goldberg Triple H stuff just kind of ruined the chamber. So yeah, this one isn't highly regarded, but that's a good like baseline. That's a good average score in chamber. Next up is 2005. Um, this is a pretty good chamber, you guys. These are the six best. These are the top six superstars of Monday Night Raw at this point, and they put on a very good show. Like Edge got to have a match with Shawn Michaels. They kind of sparred, and then of course the Evolution stuff. Benoit and Jericho, they were kind of pushed to the wayside because it's all in favor of the Evolution stuff with Randy Orton versus basically Batista and Triple H. So yeah, it was a pretty good chamber, all things considered. I really like the pacing of this match. I think it flowed very well, and just the fact that I know Batista and Jericho are they no Batista powerbombing Jericho and Benoit was kind of but it led to a pretty good story, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Also, the blood really added to the match. So yeah, it's a pretty good chamber. Next up is 2006. This one I finally remember as the first ever time where I saw John Cena bleed, and well, Judgment Day 2005 notwithstanding, because I didn't watch that till later. But this one was the first one where I saw John Cena bleed, and I was like, wow, this man can bleed. This was heavily carried by Kurt Angle. In the first part, it was heavily carried by Kurt Angle until he got super kicked and eliminated first. And then the rest of the match was just Carlito and Chris Masters basically carrying this match. Like, I know they eliminated Kane, I know they eliminated Shawn Michaels, but yeah, and then Cena came back and eliminated them both. Oh no, Carlito actually turned on Chris Masters, and then John Cena rolled Carlito up. So yeah, it was it was all right, and that's a shame because you got Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, and Cena wasn't even half bad in this match. It was pretty good, but it ended up being very forgettable because of the stuff that came after, with Edge cashing in his Money in the Bank and to win his first world title. So it just made the entire Elimination Chamber match kind of pointless in that way. So yeah, this is gonna go into the forgettable tier. I still fondly remember this match, but a lot of people don't, and that's a shame. And that's the way it was just perceived. So it ended up being very forgettable. Next up is December to Dismember, Extreme Elimination Chamber. I mean, okay. To give credit to this match, it was a very good match. Let's just put that out. It's a very good match for like the first couple of minutes because you got workhorses like CM Punk and Rob Van Dam and Test doing all these crazy spots, like Test diving elbow drop from the top of the cage, from the top of the pod to RVD, who had a chair on his head. That was pretty brutal. A lot of the extreme spots there were very extreme, but it was hampered by really bad booking, and that really costs this chamber big time. Like, CM Punk got eliminated first. I didn't expect him to win. I really didn't, but I was hoping he would make it far. So did RVD. The one I really wanted to win was RVD, but he got eliminated third. And then Bobby Lashley had to eliminate the Big Show. Yeah, that was a pretty bad decision by WWE there. It was the most WWE style booking. And it's a shame too because Paul Heyman had a very different vision of how this chamber match was going to go, and it was a shame. It's a shame. So, unfortunately, this was going to go into the bad tier. It's not even a joke at this point. It's just common fact that Extreme Elimination Chamber match is one of the biggest disappointments. Even though the quality of the chamber match itself was very good, it was just the booking that really mishandled all of it and made it essentially moot that Bobby Lashley was going to win. So, yeah, very, very disappointing chamber match, this one. And I hope none can replicate it as badly as it did. Alright, next up, the 2008. First up is the SmackDown Chamber match, where the winner gets to be the number one contender to the world title. This one was actually pretty fun. Like, I recall vividly Great Khali and Big Daddy V being part of this match. It was kind of a drag because, they're the Great Khali and Big Daddy V. They're never really good workhorses. But they're somehow carried by Batista, Finlay, MVP, and The Undertaker. So, there's still some workhorses, and this was still like peak Undertaker and peak Batista. So they're still putting out bangers every once in a while. And MVP and Finlay, they had their share in the spotlight. And there was also some really good spots too, like MVP being choke slammed from the top of the pod on the floor was pretty good. Finlay getting choke slammed into the steel by the Undertaker was pretty good. And of course, who can forget that finishing spot? Like, Batista and Undertaker basically tumbled themselves into position, perfectly timed, into a tombstone pile driver. Very, very good spot. That was like one of the best Elimination Chamber spot finishes I've ever seen. But yeah, the first part of the match was pretty slow. The later half of the match, when Great Khali and Big Daddy V got eliminated. The rest of the match turned out okay. So I'm gonna put this in an average. I like this match. I'm glad that this is the most recent chamber match uploaded to YouTube on the WWE Network, and I say that, and it's gonna get outdated really fast. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this chamber match. Personally, I enjoyed it, but fan perception is always like, oh, Great Khali and Big Daddy V, so therefore it's bad. Uh, Next up is the 2008 chamber match. This is one of the most underrated chamber match. It's the Raw chamber match where the winner gets to be the number one contender for the WWE title. And it had really good workers here. Like you got Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Jeff Hardy, Chris Jericho, JBL, and Umaga. Um, yeah, this is one of the most underrated chamber matches of all time because it's so good. You got to see Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho basically planting the seeds for their eventual feud of the year, 2008 feud of the year. You got Umaga basically wrecking house. You got JBL doing his usual brawling stuff, and the final two consisted of Triple H and Jeff Hardy, and that was the story of SmackDown in 2008. Basically, it set up a lot of good angles um, to set up for the future, and it all flowed together so perfectly. Like, of course, you got the feuds going into it were JBL and Chris Jericho, and the other four were just moot. Or no, I guess Triple H and Umaga had their spot, and of course, Shawn Michaels and Jeff Hardy had one of the most underrated Raw matches of all time, personally. But yeah, it set up a lot of really good feuds for the future. I mean, you got Jeff Hardy and his first real proper ascent into becoming a main eventer. You got JBL and Shawn Michaels having their feud of 2009. You got, of course, the aforementioned Jericho Michaels feud of 2008. Yeah, it basically ended Triple H and Umaga's feud. It's a really good chamber, you guys. I'm going to put this in good because not too many people might not remember this chamber, but give it a watch. It's really underrated, and the quality of the and it was also very unpredictable because you don't know who is going to be the number one contender. It could be Jericho, could be Hardy, could be Triple H, who knows? But yeah, I'd give this a watch if I were you. Raw Chamber match of 2008, something special. All right, next up, 2009 SmackDown Chamber match for the WWE Championship. This one's a really fun chamber. I'm gonna immediately put this in excellent because I recently rewatched this match, and my God, it still holds up. Like, yeah, the first couple of minutes with Vladimir Kozlov and the Big Show were kind of a drag because it's two big men picking apart this toy called Jeff Hardy and just basically tossing him around like it was some rag doll. It was pretty. It was entertaining at least with that, and then Big Show Kozlov got into it. It was okay. It was like okay WWE style booking, and then but ever since the point of Triple H coming in, ever since Triple H comes in, everyone, everyone basically got their moments, and of course the surprise with Edge losing the WWE Championship match, first being the first one eliminated, was pretty good. Was really surprising, and it really carried that match into such an unpredictable level because you don't know who's gonna walk away with the WWE Championship. You think Hardy was gonna reclaim his title back after being screwed out of it by Matt? You got Undertaker basically going into it as champion. You got potential Big Show, potential Triple H. It added a lot more intensity to the match, and I'm happy that the crowd is red hot throughout it because my God, the crowd were super, super into this match, and but it also had the advantage of opening the pay per view. So yeah, that's a big plus. And of course, some of the spots there were pretty good, like Hardy swanton bombing from the top of the pod. You got Triple H and Undertaker recreating Undertaker Batista a year before, and just the final two of Triple H and Undertaker. That one was really intense. Like it's just basically setting up what these two would do at WrestleMania 2 and 3 years later. It's really good. You definitely give this one a rewatch because my God, it is so good. It's so good as a chamber match, and it's still like rewatchable to this day. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. All right, next up is the SmackDown Chamber match. Unfortunately, this is the Raw Chamber match. Excuse me, I had to make that distinction very early on. Next up is the Raw Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship, and this one is not as good, but it basically set up the story of Edge taking away Kofi Kingston's spot in the match. Um, Basically hitting him with a steel chair and then entering his spot when it shouldn't be him. Uh, but this match was, it had to follow the SmackDown Chamber match, unfortunately, and yeah, it just didn't quite connect as much. I mean, yeah, sure, you got workhorses like Jericho, Mysterio, and even Cena, but yeah, this one is definitely, you can definitely see the quality of the match going from SmackDown Chamber match was really good to the Raw Chamber match. It's all right. It's all right. I love the Edge surprise and walking away with the world title because that was really smart booking. You came in with the WWE Championship, you walk away with the World Heavyweight Championship. Very good. And of course, Edge and Rey Mysterio were the final two. That's always good. In a match we'll see later. Cena getting eliminated third. It's pretty good. But the additions of Mike Knox and Kane were kind of unnecessary. Kane was actually very necessary because he was feuding with Mysterio at that time. But Mike Knox, nah, man. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna put this in good because I can't deny of the ending was definitely very impactful, but um, the rest of the match was kind of moot, honestly. So yeah, that I think that's a fair choice. Next up is 2010, the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match. I think this one's pretty good, honestly. Like, you got legacies. You got legacies role in the match, like Randy Orton, Teddy DiBiase working together to basically destroy everyone, especially the face jamming of Kofi Kingston into one of the steel rings. Oh, that looked gruesome. And of course, the DDT to Triple H on the steel. Very, very brutal indeed. Uh, but yeah, the match was pretty all right. You got Sheamus doing his stuff. It was all right, and then Randy Orton, and then finally John Cena comes in and just basically wrecks house. And then the eliminations immediately came quickly. Like, yeah, it was a pretty boring first half, but the second half, when they started doing the eliminations, like ba 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 ba, like it really picked up at that point, and it was really good. It was ended up being all right, but would I rewatch today? Nah, not really. I mean, I had to. I had to rewatch this the other day, but uh, it ended up being a pretty meh experience overall. I like the fact that Sheamus, but it did set up a lot of stuff heading into WrestleMania that year. It had the setup of the Legacy Triple Threat because Teddy DiBiase struck Randy Orton and pinned him to eliminate him. You got the setup to Sheamus versus Triple H, and then John Cena winning the WWE Championship. Ultimately, Mr. McMahon had to basically render it null and void because having Batista cash in is being Batista in the bank. Don't credit me for that joke. Um, yeah, Batista winning the title from Cena immediately just made it meh, to be honest. So, yeah, that's very average chamber. On the opposite side of the spectrum, the World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber match, I think it was pretty good. Like, you got CM Punk doing his kind of his sermon stuff, continuation of that from the Rumble. It's pretty good. John Morrison and R-Truth being involved in this chamber. I can't believe R-Truth was competing for the World Heavyweight Championship. Can you imagine that 10 years later? That R-Truth would be competing for the world title? Crazy stuff 2010 is. But yeah, of course you got Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho. They're basically like retreading their past rivalry with each other. It also set up a lot of good stuff. And what's funny about both these chamber match, both Raw and SmackDown chamber match, is that the person who eliminates a person gets immediately eliminated after. Like for example, you got Punk eliminating Morrison, who in turn got eliminated by Rey Mysterio, who ended up getting eliminated by Chris Jericho. No, by Undertaker actually, I think. Oh no! Sorry, CM Punk got eliminated by R-Truth. Rey Mysterio eliminated CM Punk. Uh, John uh, John Morris. John Morrison eliminated Rey Mysterio. Undertaker eliminated John Morrison, and then Chris Jericho eliminated Undertaker. That was pretty smart. And of course, you got the ending, of course, with Shawn Michaels super kicking the Undertaker, costing him the World Heavyweight Championship, ultimately giving it to his former rival, Chris Jericho. That was pretty smart booking, and that ultimately set up WrestleMania. Very, very cool. So yeah, this one I would rank higher than the Raw match. Um, just because of the ending, and of course, the quality of the match is better, and of course it was kind of unpredictable. Like maybe Ray could win, maybe Punk could win it back, maybe Chris Jericho could win it. Like it was actually kind of unpredictable. So yeah, I think it was pretty good. All right, next up is the 2011 SmackDown World Heavyweight Championship one. This one's really fun. I think this one is a really fun chamber to go and rewatch. Edge and Rey Mysterio started it off, and then you basically get to see. The only thing that ruined this match for me, I guess, is the fact that Edge or Rey was going to win. Like you had no chance of like Big Show, Kane, Drew McIntyre, Wade Barrett. Like yeah, the competitor credibility in this match was pretty but because and of course there's Edge and Rey Mysterio who are like above that. But yeah, that final 10 minutes of just Edge and Rey Mysterio are some of the best match. It's basically Rey Mysterio versus Edge, the feud all over again when they fought in the final two. It was really good. So, oh, this one's a very fun rewatch. I think the main knock I have with this, like I said, mentioned the credibility of the competitors, but and the fact that the eliminations came very quickly on one another. But the only thing that saved this match for me is, of course, the ending with Edge and Rey Mysterio. So, yeah, kind of predictable that way, but it's still good. So it's still a good chamber match. And there was no, and you notice that I haven't been mentioning spots because there weren't really any. So yeah. Next up is 2011's Raw Chamber match. From a chamber match that was kind of predictable to a chamber match that's very predictable. We all know that John Cena was gonna win this chamber match, you guys. Like it was practically a given. Like, yeah, Randy Orton could win. Yeah, CM Punk could win. Like, yeah, but they had a feud. Randy Orton, CM Punk, they had a feud. John Morrison was currently feuding with Sheamus at this time. Like, yeah, John Morrison was the MVP of this match. Like, the dive he took from the top of the ceiling to Sheamus to eliminate him was pretty good. And the fact that he kept bumping into the chamber pods was really funny. John Morrison ended up being the MVP in that match. John Morrison should really be treated more like a big deal in WWE. I really wanted to like him, but yeah, uh, the ending was Cena versus Punk. This was not the precursor to their Money in the Bank ladder match. No, to their Money in the Bank match that came in July. But this chamber match ended up being very predictable. No matter what John Morrison and did could not save this match from being utterly. You know what? No, I'm gonna call it a bad chamber match because it was way too predictable. Um, the stuff they set up was pretty good. You know, eventually and down the road, like the whole Cena Punk started here. The Randy Orton Punk was started here. The R-Truth heel turn started here. The seeds for it at least. Sheamus got to do some stuff, but It ended up, but the quality of the match was pretty bad, and the booking was kind of meh. That it ended up just being bad overall. So, very predictable chamber match with a very predictable winner. So that's what I feel. I think this is a bad chamber match. So sorry, that's just my opinion. Take my opinion with a grain of salt. Um, next up, 2012's chamber match. Um, First up is the WWE Championship match with six really good workers inside a chamber match. Like, what can you want out of a chamber match that has Chris Jericho, CM Punk, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, and R-Truth? That's a pretty good lineup. And you know what? I love this match. It's very, very fun, and I know that the Punk was gonna win ultimately, but at the time it was very unpredictable. Like the Miz our Truth storyline was still there. You got Chris Jericho. The fact that he's back is a thing, and the way he got eliminated was pretty brutal, honestly. Yeah, but the quality of the match just kept improving, and when CM Punk came in and do his dives, and it was pretty great. And I this is definitely worth a rewatch. I would put this in S tier. That was pretty good. Should definitely go back and rewatch the 2012 Chamber match. Next up is the World Heavyweight Championship. This main evented the show. Uh, no, actually, no. Cena Kane ambulance match main evented the show. Not this. Not this. Not the namesake of the Chamber match. Ugh. But yeah, this match it's not as good, and unfortunately, it's not as good. Like I know you got workers like Cody Rhodes and Santino Marella and Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, Great Khali, Big Show. Yeah, yeah, it was all right, but it didn't match the star power it had with the WWE title chamber match. And the fact that the booking of it kind of disappointed me in this match that it ended up being kind of forgettable. Like, yeah, some of the spots there were pretty brutal. Wade Barrett power bombing Daniel Bryan through the chamber. Considering what we know about Daniel Bryan and his neck issues, that's a pretty scary bump to take. But everything else was just kind of meh. It ended up bored me all throughout. And Santino eliminating Cody Rhodes, Wade Barrett, all that, and then ultimately almost putting away Daniel Bryan. That was pretty solid. But we all know Daniel Bryan was gonna win. We all know that. Don't mind the fact that Randy Orton is in the thumbnail because he wasn't in this chamber match. It was Santino. But yeah, I didn't like. So yeah, I did like this chamber match. I thought it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, and it ended up winning. It ended up having a very predictable winner. So it was not a very good chamber. Next up is 2013. Oh boy, the Jack Swagger chamber. Honestly, no. The fact that Jack Swagger won the chamber, yeah, it kind of ruined the match for me, honestly. But you got really good workers here. Like you got Randy Orton, you got Daniel Bryan, you got Chris Jericho, and heck, even Mark Henry and Kane are putting some bangers out. But Swagger winning, that was very an odd choice, and the fact that what considering what happened with him, like on the road to his match with Del Rio at WrestleMania, that's bad. And it just rendered the other five's credibility very moot. Like they honestly should have had won the chamber. I think the most likely for me to win the chamber was probably Orton or probably Jericho. But yeah, I didn't like this match. I did well. The fact that I didn't like. Well, let's take it to the fact that I didn't like the winner. Let's take that out of the way and judge the match quality itself. Quality is pretty good. Like, of course, Daniel Bryan flying all over the place. You got Kane doing his crazy stuff. You got Randy Orton RKOing basically everything. Mark Henry destroying everybody. It was pretty good. Like, it's just the fact that the winner won via roll up and just, made Randy Orton look like a fool. It's pretty bad. So I'm gonna give this an average because I can't discredit the work rate of these competitors. It's just that the winner kind of disappointed me, and very undeserving winner. IMO. Like, sorry, Jack Swagger, but yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like this match, unfortunately. So yeah, and it was the only chamber match in the entire pay per view too. Grumble. Anyway, next up, the 2014 WWE World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber. This one's pretty good. This one is a very good chamber. You got Christian and Sheamus. Even Christian doing the frog splash from the top to eliminate Sheamus. Sheamus is just taking all the big bumps from top of the top of the cell from the top of the pods or whatever. Um, you got of course John Cena and Cesaro mixing it up. Cesaro, this unfortunately this and Backlash 2021 were really his only shots at a world title, and getting eliminated by John Cena, not bad, not bad. Of course, you got Sheamus and Christian basically setting up the fact that Sheamus was going to be in the Battle Royal, and Christian basically setting up his quote unquote retirement. And then the closing stuff was pretty good. Like John Cena getting eliminated by the Wyatt family before being pinned by Randy Orton. That set up their WrestleMania match. And of course, the man himself, the MVP of this match, Daniel Bryan, absolutely putting in the work. Despite being taped, he still put on a great performance and lasting all the way to the final two before being ultimately screwed out by Kane, and then being pinned by Randy Orton. So we all thought that was going to be the end for Daniel Bryan as a main eventer, as a world champion, until WrestleMania 30 happened. So yeah, I'd easily give this one an S. I think this one is a really good chamber match. Definitely rewatchable because the quality of the match also never dipped. It was fun all throughout. It was a very action packed chamber, and I'm glad. I'm glad this chamber. I'm glad this chamber basically set up the story of WrestleMania 30. Next up is 2015. Oh boy. First up, the tag team chamber match. To be honest, I don't think this. I don't think this match deserves hate. Honestly, I think this match deserves to be credited. I think this is a very underrated chamber match. It's just that the fact that it was a tag team chamber match, so two people who had to share a pod, with the exception of the New Day, who had all three members in their pods, which is kind of an unfair advantage. Like, heel or not, that's really unfair. Like, um, having three, it was basically just a sardine can. It's just here, get in. You share a room. Boom, inside this chamber match. So that ended up being hot and sweaty inside that chamber. Ugh. Can't imagine being inside that chamber. But yeah. Also, but the quality of the match, it's pretty good. Like you got Los Matadores and you got the Lucha Dragons, who are honestly the MVP of this match because Kalisto jumping from the ceiling all the way to the outside, even though it was kind of botchy. It's still like the chamber spot. Cesaro and Tyson Kidd getting to do their stuff in. The primetime players also got to do some stuff in. But ultimately, like it was a very predictable chamber with the New Day ended up winning. So I'm gonna knock it down for that, but I'm not knocking it down based on the level of quality of this match because I think it's pretty. I think it's good. I think it's well. I mentioned that it was underrated, but this match didn't deserve hate. So I'm just gonna bump it up to forgettable because everyone knows that the New Day was gonna win. But yeah, don't hate this match as much as the next match because the next match is the Intercontinental Chamber match. The worst chamber match I've ever seen. It is the worst chamber. Well, no, yeah, it's definitely one of the top 5 worst chamber matches I've ever seen. My God, this one was very slow. This one's very plodding. The only thing that saved this match for me is the unpredictability of it all because you don't really know who's gonna walk away with the Intercontinental Championship. This was after Daniel Bryan retired, vacated the championship due to his injuries, but Yeah, the only thing that saved this match is the unpredictability of it all. Like, you don't know if Barrett is going to win the championship back. You don't know if R-Truth is going to win it. You don't know if Sheamus is going to win it. You don't know if Ziggler is going to win it. But but it's a very big problem in this chamber match. The biggest problem I have is just it's slow. There is nothing really hooking me in this match. I ended up falling asleep during it too, and I missed Ziggler's elimination because of it. But yeah, Mark Henry, of course, being a last minute replacement for Rusev. Oh boy, I didn't like this chamber. This is definitely the worst chamber match of all time, and and it's pretty unfortunate because Daniel Bryan is sitting there on ringside watching this thing basically fall apart because you know Bryan wanted to compete inside this chamber match himself and try and defend a title that way. So yeah, I didn't like this chamber. I think it was pretty awful. It is the worst chamber match of all time, so rightly deserves to be in the bad tier. Next up, 2017. That the reason why these two chamber match suck. It's the entirely the reason why we didn't have an Elimination Chamber pay per view in 2016, let alone a match of the Elimination Chamber in 2016. So thanks guys, thanks to you basically. You're taking the blame for all of it. Intercontinental Chamber match, you're just plain awful. So we're moving on to 2017 to a really good chamber match. The WWE Championship Chamber match is one of the best chamber matches of all time. It set up basically everything, every feud going into it, every competitor going into it, basically set up has a story in it and set up every single match for WrestleMania. You got Baron Corbin getting eliminated by Dean Ambrose, and then Corbin attacking Ambrose after the match to for Miz to get the easy elimination there. And then John Cena eliminated The Miz, setting up their WrestleMania match. You got AJ Styles being the MVP of this match, basically flying all over the place. Uh, yeah, of course, the beginning part with AJ and Cena starting off the match, and then Ambrose coming in and basically recreating their No Mercy match. It was a really good chamber. The quality of the match just never dipped. Cena got to fly out from the top of the pod, for God's sakes. So, yeah. Despite the fact that, there were crash mats now instead of hardwired steel, it it basically made for the spot to be safer. And I like that. I'm certainly in the minority, but I definitely like that more than the steel because it would be really uncomfortable to work with steel floors and, say what you want about the Elimination Chamber being a toy. I actually think it's for the better. So, yeah. Anyway, going back to this match, Bray Wyatt winning the WWE Championship in this chamber. That was definitely a moment. Having to eliminate Cena, then AJ to win it, just cherry on the cake. It was a really good, it's a really good chamber match. Definitely a watchable one. So, yeah, if you find this on the network or just looking it up online, go and watch it. It's really good. It's fun stuff. Of this chamber sets up a lot of feuds for WrestleMania 33, and the fact that Bray Wyatt won. Yeah, I'd say it's a win for WWE in that on that night. All right, next up, 2018, the Women's Elimination Chamber. I think this is the best women's chamber match WWE has put out for now because there's only 3 women's chamber matches. I still think this is the best one. You got 2/3 of Absolution, basically double teaming Bailey on the start of this match, and then Sasha comes in and is a House of Fire, basically helping out Bailey. You got, of course, the spots there were pretty good. Like Alexa Bliss twisted blissing from the top of the pod was pretty cool. Mickey James doing a dive. You got Sasha doing a huge Meteora to eliminate Mickey. Very good, very very cool. Just some of the spots there were very fun to see. And of course, you got Sasha and Bailey. Their whole story leading up to their lackluster feud of 2018 to an even better feud in 2020. But yeah, And of course, Alexa Bliss won, very deserving win. So yeah, I'm gonna put this chamber match in a good. It's the best women's chamber match. The only thing I can knock off this match is that the fact that Alexa Bliss. It was kind of predictable that Alexa was going to win because it's gonna set up her story with Nia Jax, and of course the Sasha Bailey stuff gets set up. It's all right. Like the booking kind of like played itself out to a almost predictable level. Rewatching it back, I think it's pretty good. All right, next up is um, the men's chamber match of 2018, the seven-man chamber. To the winner faces Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at WrestleMania 34. Having it be a seven-man, I think I think it's very meh. But yeah, this was the chamber match with Braun Strowman basically eliminating everyone, and then having Roman Reigns limit. It basically played out like 2003. These chamber matches right here. I think I'm gonna rate this exactly the same as 2003 in giving it an average rating because you got the quality of the performers is really good. Like you got Seth Rollins, you got The Miz, you got Finn Balor, you got John Cena, you got Elias when he was still over, and of course you got Braun Strowman who basically wrecked house and ultimately being fed to Roman Reigns. Meh. Eh. This was during the dark period where everyone knew that Roman Reigns was going to win the Universal title at some point. But yeah, I did. Yeah, this match was very lopsided, and the fact that Braun Strowman eliminated everyone, I didn't hate it as much as Goldberg, but nah, it's still like very jarring. It's still a very jarring chamber to watch because we all know this was just basically a plot device for Roman Reigns to get his win back, to get the momentum heading into Mania 34, one of the worst main events of all time, unfortunately. So yeah, 2018 chamber, kind of a mid chamber. Next up is the women's tag team elimination chamber match. Yeah, I also think this was pretty mid, to be honest. Like, okay, the one saving grace I have with this match is that it is the inaugural women's tag team championship match. Like, you don't know who's going to win the women's tag team match. You think, oh, it's going to be Absolution or the Riots. No, they were not called Absolution. They were called Fire and Desire. Which is a dumb name. Then you got the Riot Squad. You don't know if they're gonna win. You don't know if Nia Jax and Tamina are gonna bulldoze their way into it. And Sasha and Bailey winning was a pretty good choice, like deserving of a first winner or there. Yeah, but yeah. Also, some of the spots there were pretty cool. Like Nia Jax basically running towards the chamber spot. That was pretty funny. Some of the eliminations were pretty cool, but do I highly regard it as one of the best chamber matches? Really, I think it's just a very mid-chamber. It was cool that the women's tag team championship match was decided in the elimination chamber. That was awesome. But everything else, but the match quality and just predictability. Otherwise, Sasha and Bailey are gonna win. So yeah. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. So it's an average match. Next up, WWE Championship match. Very fun chamber, honestly. You got six really competent competitors. You got Samoa Joe, you got Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan. That that is already a stacked lineup. And of course the story of it all is Kofi Kingston and his, Daniel Bryan moment. But aside from the Daniel Bryan Kofi Kingston match within the match, the final two at the end was really good. The rest of the match was really solid. Like Samoa Joe got to be a killer. You got Jeff Hardy basically ragdolling himself around. Yeah, AJ Styles being amazing as usual. Randy Orton being cunning and eliminating Styles. Yeah, it was a very very fun chamber, and Daniel Bryan and Kofi, and of course the aforementioned Bryan versus Kingston match within a match. very good. And of course, I love there's a camera spot which I really love is that Kofi jumps up to the top of the pod to basically catch Daniel Bryan, and the camera placement there was amazing. It was perfect. So yeah, that's just one of many reasons why you should go back and rewatch this chamber. It's really, really good. So, with those two out of the way, let's move on to the new chambers. 2020 SmackDown Tag Team Chamber Match. Yes, S tier. Um, this was a very fun chamber, you guys. This is one of the most frenetic, action-packed chamber matches I've ever seen. It basically reminded me of the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys when they were doing action-packed, crazy, frenetic crap. Like this one I think was up to that level because you got Miz and Morrison playing the cowardly heels trying to protect their titles. You got Usos and New Day starting it off. You got the Lucha Drag. You got no, it was Lucha House Party actually. You got Lindsay Dorado doing that amazing backflip, which looked even cooler than Kalisto's ceiling drop. You got Heavy Machinery basically trying to continue that storyline of him versus Dolph Ziggler for the affections of Mandy Rose. That was pretty cool. I really wish Heavy Machinery never split. Stupid Tucker heel turn at Hell in a Cell. But yeah, and then of course the closing spots with the Usos and New Day doing their whole thing before both were eliminated by Miz and Morrison. This was a really fun chamber or to rewatch, and I highly recommend that you go back and watch this on the network or on Peacock or just online on YouTube. It's there. But yeah, everything basically set up a lot of things in this chamber as well. Like, you got Dolph Ziggler versus Otis setting up their match at WrestleMania. You got Miz, Morrison, Usos, and New Day setting up their ladder match at WrestleMania. Like, yeah, this was a very fun chamber, and it's also the last pay per view to take place before before the pandemic started to hit. So, no, the last pay per view, not the last Elimination Chamber match before the pandemic. So, yeah, very fun chamber. Very fun chamber. Next up is the Women's Elimination Chamber. Speaking of the last Elimination Chamber match before the pandemic, it's this one, and my god, is it bad. It is bad. This is easily one of the worst chamber matches I've ever seen. Like, they had potential, okay, and it really didn't need to be bad. It just wasn't booked right. You got what they should have done is that they should have all four of the competitors, all of the competitors minus Asuka, basically duke it out and have a really quality chamber match capable that the women are capable of doing. And then Shayna Baszler comes in at number 5 and basically eats them both. And basically eats them all. Like, Liv Morgan gets eliminated, Natalia gets eliminated, Ruby Riott gets eliminated, like, Sarah Logan. Yeah, everyone basically. So we didn't have to wait 15 minutes for Asuka to come in and basically get eaten herself. I would have liked that better. Or Shayna Baszler could come last and basically eat everyone, and then Asuka and Shayna Baszler have this stare off, and then ultimately Shayna Baszler wins over Asuka. Like, that would have been a better chamber match than what we got. And this match sucked for that. Like, Shayna Baszler gets to eliminate all the women, all the women in succession, and just basically had to just stand there and wait till the time. Like, you could have cut the time of waiting. Just let Asuka get into the chamber match last because you know it's gonna happen. The it was structured as a plot device for Shayna Baszler to be a monster, but WWE completely squandered it, and that was just the beginning signs of what they could have done with Shayna Baszler's first year. Make her look like an absolute monster to go up against Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 36, which I definitely think Shayna Baszler should have won at WrestleMania. Um, but yeah, it was just very boring, very awkward, and it really massively exposed Shayna Baszler. She couldn't really, swagger and do play up to the crowd. It's just really boring. It's just a very boring chamber. I didn't like it. It was bad. So yeah, I wanted to say that for a really long time, and I'm fortunate enough to make a video off of it. But yeah, I hated how this chamber match played out. All right, next up is the last year's chamber matches. First up, we got the Universal title match where the winner gets to face Roman Reigns later in the night to become the Universal Champion. This was a very fun chamber. Um, you got of course extreme workhorses there. You got Daniel Bryan, you got Cesaro, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You got Jey Uso, who's pulling up main event Jey Uso, who's pulling up all these amazing spots. Yeah, this was a very fun chamber. The first time I watched it, I really thought that either one of these guys could win, minus Baron Corbin. But everyone else was a legit number one contender. But maybe Sami Zayn less so, but everyone legit looked like a number one contender. And I'm glad that Daniel Bryan won. And yeah, Cesaro got to do some stuff, got to eliminate Baron Corbin. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn got to set up their feud for WrestleMania. You got Roman Reigns and Jey Uso basically having that storyline with Daniel Bryan and Cesaro later in the year at Backlash. But yeah, it was really good. It's a really, really good chamber. So I'm gonna put this in good because despite how good it is, the main problem I have with it is that, Jey Uso being in the main event, being in the final two was kind of but it would have been, I think it would have been better if Jey Uso were eliminated, what, third or fourth? And then was just left to, what, Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens versus Cesaro? Yes, please. So yeah, very fun chamber to watch. And then lastly, we have the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match, the Drew McIntyre Chamber match. This was all right. This was pretty average. I liked it. Everyone looked like a contender. Everyone looked like they could win the championship. You got AJ Styles, you got Randy Orton, you got Sheamus, you got Jeff Hardy, you got um. What was the other one? It was all former world champions too. I don't remember who the last one is. Damn it! I might have to recheck that. But yeah, this was a very fun. This was a alright chamber, but you all know that Drew McIntyre was going to win. I mean, I'm surprised that the Miz cashed in the Money in the Bank contract here, but yeah. Oh no, it was Kofi. Duh. Sorry. Yeah. So sorry, Kofi. I forgot you were in this chamber. But yeah. Everyone else got to play their spots, like Kofi getting to do some crazy stuff, eliminating Randy Orton first. That was a huge surprise, and then basically eliminated by Sheamus. AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy got to do some stuff, and then finally Drew McIntyre basically claymored all of them to win. Of course, The Miz cashed in later in the night to become the WWE champion. That was a huge surprise. But everything in this match was all right. It was fine. It was just good. It was just a good popcorn match. And everything else was pretty much rendered like a contender. Absolutely like a contender. So yeah. So overall, yeah, this is exactly how it played out. I really didn't expect it to play out. The excellent and average tiers, excellent to average, everything was basically the same. You got 7 matches here, and then of course you got the 7 worst chamber matches, in my opinion. So yeah, that's basically gonna do it. I'm pretty excited on where Elimination Chamber 2022 is gonna go because it's gonna be a fun ride. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You click that notification bell so you get early access to my videos once they come out. And I'll see you at Elimination Chamber when we watch it. This has been Make It in Cinco, signing out.